Can we start, ma'am? Hello.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm Deepali Chatrikar, session coordinator for this session. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome you all to today's session of our faculty development program. Today, we are privileged with expert Dr. Swati Bhisikar ma'am. She has 24 years of experience in the field of academic and research in electronics and telecommunication. Currently, she is working as an associate professor at JSPM College of Engineering, Pune. Also, she is a PhD coordinator for ENTC department at JSPM rscoe Research Center. She completed her sorry she completed BTech in Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering from Government College of Amravati in the year of 2000, completed MTech in Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering from COEP Pune in the year of 2010, and PhD in Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering from Sant Gadge Baba Amravati University in the year of 2019. She is a recognized research guide at Savitribai Phule Pune University. She is mentoring two PhD scholars in the area of biomedical imaging, machine learning, and communication. She has served as an internal expert for LIC Committee for PhD Research Center renewal by Savitribai Phule Pune University at RSUA. She is an expert committee member for PhD interview and progress presentation at RSUA Research Center. She has authored over 50 plus articles in a peer-reviewed journals, international conference, and book chapters. She is a reviewer for various journals, IEEE international conferences, and book chapters. She has received a Best Paper Award at TCET Conference, Pune. Her research interest includes medical imaging, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. She has fetched grant of 5.21 lakh for a conduction of FDP in a year 2020. Moreover, she is actively participated in the program and organizing committee for prestigious international conference, seminars, and FTP. She also worked as an invited resource person to conduct expert lecture on various topics at various institutes. Uh, Welcome, ma'am. So, without taking too much time, we start our today's session. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Deepali. I'll share my screen. Just a second. Am I audible, Deepali?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yes. Is it visible, my screen?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
I'll make it full screen. Just a second. Okay. So today we are going to start with a very important topic in academic research, and that is what is the research paper writing. Research paper writing is an essential skill which is required for every academician, and that's why it is very, very essential for every academician to go for research paper writing once at least in their journey. This research journey, when to start, why to start, all these questions are there, and that's why whenever you go in research, we have to follow various steps. These steps are, you are going to select an area. Once the area selection is there, what you need to do is problem definition you need to identify. Once problem is refined, you need to write the objectives for that. Next is to carry out the rigorous literature survey. After the literature survey, you need to find the gap. Okay, research gap will give you the motivation for your research study. And the next is the database collection, software selection, hardware selection, all these things. Followed by the problem formulation. once this data is ready, what you need to do is you need to formulate the method. You need to go for what experimentation is it requires, whether the simulation is required, or you are going for some setup, experimental setup, and then doing that particular research work. If there is a field work, you need to go for that. And finally, to analyze the outcome. So this is what exactly the various steps which are there in the research. Now, whenever you start any of the research, what particularly comes in your mind is that what particular topic to be selected, why it is useful, and how do you know that? Okay, so for that, what is needed is you need to find the novelty in your particular research. So novelty means what? It's like very new technique, or it may be different technique, or it may be modified technique that is possible in novelty. Okay, then what you are going to give, why it is useful? So you are going to give better solution than the existing particular solution. Then you are going to give the performance evaluation parameters, like depending on your work, you need to ask the question, how do you know that your research is useful to the society? Okay, so many a times this research work, it is required that it should solve the societal problems, that is going to carry weightage. Now, once you have asked with WH question and you are ready with the topic, what is expected that you should start your work. Okay, so once you have started your work, you have to write the research paper. I would suggest that when you have selected topic and done the literature survey, you should start it. It's nothing like once the result is ready, then only you can start. Okay. So what are the stages of that research paper and what is the structure of that research paper we are going to discuss. So the structure of the research paper starts from title finalization, authorship, abstract, introduction, keywords, literature survey, methodology, experimental research, conclusion, and references. So this is a generalized flow of your research paper. It's a whatever paper you will write, what the work you are going to convert into research paper, you will find that this is the only structure of that particular paper. We can say that this is this is accepted everywhere, whether it is journal, whether it is conference. So you should start going for it. Now, my suggestion is when you start the research, particularly, what you should do is once you have started, you will start with the literature. When you do that, you should start writing down the things, and that's what I'm saying. It's not only getting the things done by only AI models, but here very important is you must think of what the thinking process is. Thinking, reading and thinking should come parallelly. That's very important. Okay, so thinking process is a must whenever you are going for any research. That's the very basic fundamental things, because that will lead to revisions, that will lead to innovate the things and devise the different methods, and finally go for the very good research work. So here I will say the next, how to write particular research. Once you have ready with the title and you can say the literature survey and your results are ready, then you are in position to write the research paper. Okay, so let's see what are the requirements of a title. Title, as all of you know, maybe here in audience, many of you are the expert. You have written so many papers. And there may be possibility few are beginners. Okay, for them I should tell you that the title should be very precise, perfect, and informative. Okay, informative means it should focus, it should indicate the focus of your research. Okay, title, if it is informative, what is important? What will happen? That title is visible to readers. Now this particular paper when published, what will happen? that particular title will be read by so many authors, you can say, and that title will tell the particular next person that whether this particular paper is useful for me or not. And that's why title is very, very important. What is important in title? You must say that what exactly your paper is going to tell you. So it's informative. No need of using a and the extra abbreviations are not required. Abbreviations is like, suppose you are using IoT is okay because it's universally accepted. If you are using ML, okay, universally accepted. AI, ML, these terms are universally accepted. But if you are doing some abbreviation on your own, those abbreviations should be avoided in the title and make the title as informative as possible. This title should not be too small or too large. What expectation is from the reviewer or from the person who's going to read your paper. Title should not be very lengthy, and the thing is title should carry the meaning, and meaningful things are required. And that's why uh, title carries an important role. You can say that around 10,000 or more than that you will get the readers only if they will read the title and they will find it it's my area and it is very useful that ways. So next comes, once the title is finalized, okay, uh, what you can do is we can go for the authors you need to write. So what are the general mistakes which are going to happen generally is the authors are written names. First of all, name of the author. In that, many times salutations are written like Mr., Mrs., Doctor, whatever. So those salutations should be avoided. Next is avoid designation. That's important. Designation is like if you are a professor, associate professor, you are R&D dean, whatever the designation, research scholar, student, these designations should be avoided. You can write the department in which you are working. You can write the university, college name. These things are required. At the same time, what is mandate is to give the email ID. Now, which email ID is to be given? So it's a very good that if you are giving your institutional email ID, okay, instead of giving the Gmail IDs, you prefer going for the institutional email ID when you write the authors. Okay. Next is the keywords. Keywords, just a second. Keywords, how many keywords has to be there? So first of all, what is a keyword? Keyword is the one which will help the readers to get the paper, to search the paper easily. And that's why keywords plays an important role. How many keywords has to be there? 6 to 8, 5 to 6 will do. And these words are what these are, why it is called as keywords, because these words are getting repetitively followed, used in your entire research paper. And that's why these keywords are often used, often repeated in the paper. Okay, these words are more often repeated. Next is keywords help the paper appear in the research search in research papers. Okay, this makes the research paper discoverable. So keywords will make the paper discoverable. As if I am saying it's agriculture, IoT in agriculture. If I'll type, what is important, what will happen is if your paper carries those keywords, that will appear, okay, in the search engine. And that's why it's very, very important. The keywords should be properly given. Okay. So after the keywords, the main section of your paper has come, and that is the abstract. Okay, the abstract, no, abstract is first and then the keywords. Okay, abstract is the one which will tell the reader or reviewer who's going to review your paper what exactly is your work. Okay, so what is abstract, how to write the abstract? So abstract is to be written in the manner like, suppose you are whatever the field you are working in, you need to define that first and then tell the need of your work. Your title, whatever is saying, you have to define that, you need to tell. And this should be very brief. Okay, introduce innovativeness and need to address the problem. Okay, so that will be in 3-4 lines. You can tell the reviewer that this is my topic and this is what is the need for this particular work. Okay, next is next to this is what is the problem. Okay, so problem, if whatever the problem you are working on, your research problem, you need to specify that. Okay, need once known, what is expected that you are working on what exactly this, because what you have done, your research area you have narrowed down. Okay, whatever the research area you have chosen, you have taken small, tiny but tiny focused area, and then that will be your problem statement in the research. And that's why the problem innovativeness, that is to be highlighted in the abstract. Okay, and then the next 2 lines will be method used for the research. What methods you had used for the experimentation, whether you have written algorithm, if it is a software, whether you have simulated, and what simulation or a method exactly you have used. That you need to write in the next 2 lines. Okay, it's generally 1 paragraph, and how much is the limit, word limit? If you see, it's 250 to 300 words is the abstract word limit. You need to follow that. Okay, discuss the major contribution to solve the problem. So next is, once you have told what is the method you have used, okay, and you need to discuss what are the major contributions you had done, so that the problem is solved. Okay, that means your major contribution is to be written next to that. You have got some outcome after the experimentation here, and these outcomes to be written in the next 2 lines. Again, 2 lines I'm saying, because the word limit is very less. It's 250 words only. You need to discuss result, and then that gets the reader's interest. Very important is you need to check for whether the reader's interest is there or not. It should be maintained within the lines. Okay, basically what you are doing, you are introducing the topic, you are telling the methodology, you are talking about your problem statement, you are telling what exactly your contribution is and result is. Okay, so when you are telling all these things to the reviewer or the next reader, what is important is that flow of the lines, what you are writing down, is to be maintained. If it is maintained, then you can say that the abstract is done perfectly, and the reader's interest to review that particular paper or read the entire paper will increase. Because if you see the many papers, if you also, what you do is you read the abstract and then decide whether it is useful for me. Okay, if it is useful, then only I'll go through the methodology and the conclusion and the rest part of the paper. And that's why abstract is very important. I would say abstract designing plays an important role to get readers' interest. Very important. Okay. Next comes is keywords. We have already discussed this. Keywords are the one which will help the paper to appear in various search results, and that's why it becomes the paper becomes discoverable, and it should be 5 to 6 keywords. Next comes the introduction part of your paper. Okay. So introduction, what introduction should have? Introduction will tell you for whatever 2 lines you have written in abstract, first of all, definition and the need. For that, you need to write in detail what is the problem statement, okay, why you have chosen that particular area. Okay. Next is, what is the background? What do you mean by the background? That means maybe you are referring to various magazines, you are referring to various IEEE, LCVS, Science Direct papers, IEEE transaction papers, and then you will come to know, okay, this is the work done and this is what is I have to do. Okay, and that's why you need to discuss the background, what is the essentiality of this particular topic, so that I'm working on it. Okay, so definition, background, and need of your statement is to be highlighted, and that too in elaborated manner. The introduction can be around 1 page or so. Okay, so introduction carries a meaning, and it again, as I'm telling you, whenever you write a paper, it should be consistent. That means if you're writing 1 paragraph, that should be connected to the next paragraph. Okay, It should not be like you are talking about something else and next paragraph you are talking about something else. Otherwise, it makes the discontinuation. So in order to make it continuous, what is your job? You need to read it, reread it, okay, and make it perfect. Okay. For perfection, it's very important that the various paragraphs what you are making over here, you need to write first and then read it, and then you may give it to the expert non-expert in your area, because when paper goes to the reviewer, what is expected that that reviewer is from the he knows the advanced technology in your area, and that's why he is a reviewer for your paper. So if he knows the advanced technology, what is your job is, your paper should create interest and show the novelty in that particular area. Then only after the introduction will be read. Okay. So next is what are the merits and demerits of the known method? What makes now if this can be the introduction part, this can be many times the you can say the literature survey part. The few papers if you refer to, you will find that few of the literatures are mentioned in the introduction also. Okay, and the advantages, disadvantages are also jotted down in the introduction section, and motivation behind the study is written properly in that particular introduction section. And then your whatever topic you have chosen, that you need to tell the reader why it's so useful, and that you have to highlight again. Okay, so this is what the introduction is. Very importantly, it should carry the definition, background, and the need of your work. Okay, and then followed by merits and demerits to show the motivation part. Next comes the actual literature survey. Okay, so literature survey, while doing it, you need to have papers. Okay, how many papers it should be like for literature survey, for writing a particular research paper, or how many papers I should read? So I would suggest that you should read 50 plus papers minimum, and if you want to give as a references whatever you find the basic which are useful, those are maybe 25 to 30 papers. Okay, so you may go for 25 to 30 papers in reference section. Now these papers should be from the standard journals or the magazines, or it can be from the standard transaction papers, you can say. So these papers will be will be referred as references, and those will be cited in the literature survey. Now, what is your job as a research paper writer? What you should do is you should write this concise summary of that particular paper. Now, there are so many AI tools we have discussed. There are Elicit, Mendeley, and so forth. Those tools are giving the summaries. Okay, that's okay. But when till the time you are not going through the entire paper, you will not come to know what exactly are the contributions, what methodology, what exactly the results they have shown. So I would suggest that once you have finalized those papers, like these are the very important papers for me, you should go through the paper. It's very important. Okay, and it will start, or it will ignite your minds, and it will start the thinking, research thinking, which is very much essential in your research journey. Okay, now as I'm saying that if you have selected any particular area, then you will have the ample amount of paper in Google, or whenever you go for any search engine or IEEE Explorer or Science Direct, Elsevier papers, Springer papers, and so on. So what you have to do is you need to cluster these papers, group these papers. What you have to do in your laptop, you make the particular folders. Like suppose if I'm doing work in uh, deep learning. So what is my job is what are the previous paper, whether those are machine learning papers, which techniques they have used. Suppose they have used some classification technique, which classification, SVM classification, make a separate folder. For KNN classification, you make separate folder. For another classification technique, like maybe for a deep learning technique, CNN papers, you make a separate folder. And then as and when required, you take out those papers so that the as I'm telling you, that there should be connection between the lines, so that when you write it, you are writing concisely, properly in that particular area only. You are not switching between one area to another area whenever you are doing the literature survey. So it should be meaningful, and rigorous survey is very important. Now, it's many times it's observed that in research paper, you are writing the summary. Okay, summary or findings of that paper is written in that particular case. But what is expected, not only the summary, you should write that this is what you can say, that this is the limitation of this work. Okay, and I have to work on this limitation. Okay, and that's why it's very, very important that you should jot down what are the merits and the demerits of that particular known method. Research paper is available to you. Okay, now you are saying that what are the merits, demerits which are there, you have find it out, and then you can write about that particular paper, what are your observations, who has, and of course you are going to give the credit to the author. Okay, so author credit is, you know, that there are various papers written by authors, and you may not be able to give the listing of other in literature survey. So then what you can do is you can write a first author's name, and then you can write ETAL dot. It means whatever the next authors. Okay, so give the credit and then write about that particular paper in a paragraph manner also will work. And literature survey can also be in terms of tabular also. Okay, so I had shown over here a table where it consists of author, publication, title, then method used, observation, and drawbacks. You can see that the author means you need to write whoever are the authors. Publication, very importantly, I will tell you that you need to write the entire publication. That is what publication name, name of the publisher, then volume in which it is published, volume number, and the page numbers on which that particular paper is available. So that is perfect publication what you are cite as. Next is the title. Title, of course, whenever you feel like this is my interest and this is related to the title what I have chosen. So you need to write the title of that particular paper. Method used. This is also important. That means you are reading the paper. Okay, once you read the paper, you can very well check for the second section of generally the paper is the methodology, and methodology will tell you which methods are being used in this paper in order to get the results. Okay, so method used is to be specified here. And next is the observation. Observation will be like result part. Okay, so how much is the result, how much is the accuracy. Apart from that, any statistical parameters it's checked for what exactly the accuracy part and so forth. So these observations, whether the detection is done or the type of classification is done, which type of classification is done, all these things will come under observation. Next is very important is the drawbacks. Okay, so as I'm telling you, literature survey not only summarizes, but it also criticizes the next authors. Okay, it means from where you will get that this is what is left in that particular paper. If you read properly the paper, you will get a future scope in after the conclusion. You will have the future scope in the paper. So what you will find in future scope, okay, there are some limitations, and that study can be extended in future so that you can write those drawbacks. So these drawbacks are very much important, and these drawbacks will lead you to find the research gap. Okay, so if you are doing the studies of 50 papers, for example, so what you have observed that these are the drawbacks, and frequently whatever the drawbacks are there, those can be observed, and you must carry out your thinking process and see that what the research gap, and this gap how it can be addressed in your work. Okay, and that's why this literature survey is very, very important, and this is like a foundation of your study. Okay, if you are doing your PhD, then also it's important. If you're guiding your students, then also it is very important. Okay, so these drawbacks will give you the research gap, and this research gap will lead you to devise a particular method, okay, which is novel, which you can say a modified, which you can say optimized technique. Okay, next is the how this literature survey, what you need to think consider. These points you must consider. The references you have chosen, okay, and what references you will write generally. References should be in chronological order. Suppose this year is 2025, okay. So what is expected in references is that for last 4 years, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, okay, last 5 years, what are the inventions, what are the novelties and methods which are used in that particular area, okay. So that is important to refer, okay. And those papers will be at the maximum. Suppose I'm saying that 35 papers are the reference papers, okay. So out of 35, you can say that 25 papers should be recent papers in these particular years, that is 2020 to 2025. What about the rest papers? Rest papers can be decades ago, no problem. Okay, few papers can be the one which are like very initial stage. What was the technology and all these things? Because you are writing the introduction, the background and all. There you can cite those papers which are previously uh, present. Okay, but for the novelty and innovativeness, what is important? You should have the maximum references, which are standard references. Okay, we talked about standard references. I told you the references can be IEEE transaction, IEEE access papers, IEEE conferences. You should not go for. Rather, I will suggest you should go for Springer, Elsevier journals, Science Direct journals. That is good references, I would say. Next is use recent references, as I've told you. Next is critical analysis of your paper. Critical analysis we have covered, like you are reading the paper on your own instead of AI reading your paper and writing the summary. I would suggest that the paper, which are the key papers for you, you should go through the paper and start your thinking process, and the foundation should be good, and then your research journey will be the best. Okay, next is organization of the paper. So organization, I have told you, you make the group, like for particular area, these are the particular papers. Next area, this is the paper, and so on. Like classifier example I have given, SVM, KNN, and so forth. Next is not only that, you can make the chronological order also, like 2025, then 2024, then 2023, and so forth. Okay, so you can make these folders, and rather you can make the prints and see. When you are reading it, you will highlight the points, okay, using a highlighter. Okay, this is the thing which I want to see. Make a project diary, make a research diary. What will happen because of that? Whenever you write the things, that is available as and when you are going to write the paper. Okay, because I have seen many a times as a research coordinator, the students are doing work, their PhD work, but what is happening is they are not completing their research paper because they find it very difficult to write the paper. So it's nothing like that. It is not difficult, but you need to spend time, you need to think, and then only that particular paper writing will take place. Okay, so if everything is intact, if your research diary is maintained properly, and you are writing down as and when whatever is you are thinking, okay, or if you are read a particular thing, okay, this mathematical model I liked, I will go for this. So I should write those mathematics equations and all these things. Then that particular research diary will help you in writing the research paper easily also. So organization of paper in your laptop, you can say that, see the folders year wise, chronological order, ascending order, you should organize. Now this literature survey can be can write, okay, the definitely like you are not a first few have Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Okay, I'll share the screen. Sorry for the inconvenience caused. Some network issue. Is the screen visible, sir? Hello,
Yes,
Mr. Sir?
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
fine. Am I audible? Okay.
Ma'am.
Now, very important section after the literature survey. It's methodology. Now, you need to tell the reader what is the method you are using. In that, it is block diagram or research design, you may call it as. Research design, you need to devise a particular method, and then you are going to draw that particular block diagram, okay, and explain it precisely. Explain in a proper manner, like whatever each block and what is first input given, then the block processing, then the next output. You need to explain each and every process. If there are 5 blocks in your block diagram, what is expected? All the processing of each and every output, when goes to the next block, when goes to the next block, everything is to be explained. Okay, so you should not directly start with the design part. You should again write in brief what exactly you are doing. Okay, and then you give the block diagram and then the explanation part. Now here, block diagram is the one, but what essential things are, you are explaining it properly. You are telling the next reviewer that whether database is used, which data is used, what particular machines you have used. Maybe you are using some GPUs, you are using i5 processor, time complexity, and all these are going to vary. Why it's so important to give all these details? The reason is, if somebody wants to do the same thing again or experiment on based on your work, so he should replicate your work. And that's why each and every detail should be specified, the procedures to be given. Okay. So in methodology, the procedure is very, very important to give. And that's why these procedures carry a meaning. Okay. Now experimentation, maybe it's a software experimentation. Software, you have lots of you can say that 1,000-line codes. But here, when you are specifying anything, what's expected, that what is important you need to write over there. Okay, like for some 4 lines of code is very important. Okay, and the readers reviewer must know that what is the thing which has been incorporated. You should write that code. Okay, not the entire code. Similarly, algorithm or flow of your work. Okay, so while writing down the flow of your work, what is expected, that the flow should be such that you are going to explain each and every stage, and that too along with equation. That means many times it is observed that in papers no mathematics is available. Okay, so mathematics is the key, or statistics is the key. What you can say that because mathematical equation will lead to the algorithms, various types of methods. Mathematics is the basics. And if you're not understanding that, if you're not writing it, and that's the reason you are not replicating it in your papers also. So what is expected? You should write down the equations which are going to say what exactly is the method and how it's going to work and all these things. So methodology consists of the block diagram, its explanation in detail, then the procedures, if possible, some pseudocodes, if possible, some few lines of your algorithm, and the experimentation. If you're doing at a particular lab or some hardware experimentation, you can take a photo also, will do. That photo should be good resolution, good quality resolution. It has to be there, so that it will authenticate the reader that okay, this has been this has been perfectly carried out, and then it is run over there. And that's why it's very important to write the methodology part, which is the backbone of your research paper. Next is results and discussion section. Okay, so we have talked about methodology, and now we are going to start with the results and discussion. It carries what you can say that, because the papers when read, what are the possibilities is that your title is read first, next your abstract, and then followed by result conclusion. This has been read, and that's why result carries an important thing. Now, what is here? List your findings, discuss findings and its research related importance. Okay, so whatever the experimentation you have done, you have explained in methodology part. Okay, that experimentation will carry the meaning, and that particular experimentation will lead to some results, outcomes, and those results will be in the form of your outcome of the research. Okay, and that's why it is to be written precisely, perfectly. It has a great importance, and it should relate also. Like once you have finded out your findings, what you should do, you should compare those findings with the findings which are available in your previous research papers. How much comparisons you will go for? You will go for at least minimum 5 to 6 comparisons, 6 methods, and then you may showcase that my method or my experimentation is such that it's giving outcome which is better than the previous one. Okay, that is your contribution. What you are getting? See here, what we are saying that its contribution is in terms of your, it may be any parameter or feature extraction, or it may be in terms of accuracy. Okay, so all the features has to be devised. Now, in results, how to showcase your results? The results should be showcased in form of graphs. Okay, in tabular form also will work. Okay, when I'm saying it's tabular things are there, so what is expected that in table you are going to show what all the methods, it's relevant things, observations, and then the outcomes. Okay, so when you are writing this table has the caption. Okay, table has always the caption which is on the top side, and figure has the caption always on the bottom side, and they have their own like whenever you write the figure, the caption should be meaningful. Similarly for table caption should be meaningful. And if you have some statistics which is written, numerical values which are written in that table, and if you are explaining those, it's very important. Whenever you have the figure or table, you need to explain each and everything what you have written in that particular figure. You need to write figure 1 says shows the depicts this particular block diagram which will show the impact of this research. Okay, so now similarly table, if you are writing numerical values, either you write in the form of table, or you give in the form of bar charts, or you give in form of any type of charts. You know that various types of charts are available. Okay, and you must understand which will be useful for me, okay, for showing that my result. Okay, so that these are impactful. Okay, and that will catch the reader's interest. What I should do, which type of tabular, or whether it is bar chart or whatever the type of chart will be useful, that you need to see. Okay, and then you have to discuss these. Okay, now whenever you are talking about the results, you must talk about what softwares you had gone for, what are the databases you had gone for this particular research. Now this what I'm saying, the databases and all, the database should be standard database. Okay, you can you know that nowadays there are online databases which are standard databases which are available. Various websites are there like Kaggle, GitHub, ADNI database for biomedical images and so. Now these database, why I'm suggesting you these, that because it will be the benchmark database, and these benchmark database will help you in validating your results. Okay, and that's why you must use those database. You have to specify whatever the software you are using, which programming you are using, what tools you are using for the particular research work. Okay, so we have covered here like the tabular graphical bar charts. Okay, and each and every diagram what you are depicted, it should be explained in your text form. Okay, just next to your diagram, there should be table 2 shows the variation of like whatever you are writing x-axis parameter, y-axis parameter accordingly. Okay, you can go for 3D arts also, because now AI is going to give you all these things available, 3D, 2D. But again, as I'm telling you, this is again strictly adhered to your journal guidelines or your template, whatever given by the journal or conference, whatever. Okay, so this is important. Next is discuss feature implementation parameter and improvements. As I'm telling you, research is the one which will lead to novelty. That's why it's very much important and essential to discuss what all the features you are working on, okay, and that is useful to for novelty of your work, and what improvements you have done in terms of which features, which parameters, and these improvements should be discussed properly from the data what you are providing in the results section. Okay. As I've showed, next to this is the validation. And validation, as I've told you, it should be, if it is a benchmark database, then it's possible to validate the results and proper analysis along with the justification and the reason. Okay. So you have received the improved results. Okay. And you're not able to, if justify those results, then what is the point? Okay, so very importantly is you need to justify. Okay, I got these particular results, and this is the whatever the in terms of what it is best. Okay, and what justification you are given should have a relevance, a significance for that. Okay, and that's why to validate these results, maybe depending on your work, the validation methods may be different. Okay, like for biomedical imaging, you must consult to a doctor, you must consult to the hospital and see that whether your results are correct or not. They should give you the validation. Okay. Next is comparison with the existing results. As I've told you, at least 5 to 6 methods, previous work, you should compare with actual results, what you have received, right? So the next comes is after results and discussion, next comes is, just a minute, conclusion. Okay. Conclusion is not the abstract, I would say, in past tense. Okay, that means you need to write a precise conclusion. What conclusion does is it summarizes the key findings. Okay, so you must tell the reviewer or the reader that what are the key findings in my work. Okay, that is to be shown. Now, what is next? What is the implication of this research that you need to tell? That means it's like broad area. For a broad area, how your research is useful in that particular area. Okay, don't earlier what you have done, when you have selected the title, you have narrowed down your area. But when you are writing the conclusion, you should say that what are the implication, application, advantages to that particular broad spectrum. Okay, and that you need to specify in your conclusion, so that it will become interesting and everyone will read that particular conclusion. Then applications of the work done. Application, as I've told you, like you have done some work and it has n number of application. Yes, of course, you have to jot down those application. Now, this is the like acknowledge the limitations. Okay, acknowledge why acknowledgement is very much essential. Acknowledgement is essential. The reason is whenever you're doing the work, it's not full and final. Like after this particular work, nobody can extend that work. It is nothing like that. So always there is a future scope for this work. Okay, so there is a future scope, and that future scope you need to tell how to write in terms of the limitations. Okay, that this is the work which is done for this particular area, and now this work can be extended in future in this particular manner. Okay, so that ways you have to write the limitations also, and so that that work will be replicated and that will be extended in future. Okay, and that will carry a meaning in this particular case. Now this is what the conclusion is. Now, as I've told you, future scope, what future scope will tell the reader. It will tell the few recommendations for future studies. This could include potential areas that were not truly explored in your study. Okay, so what is there is like potential areas, what are there, and it can be applicable to those areas that you have to write. Okay, so recommendation in future studies, what are the limitations you have jotted down. Now you tell what is the future possibilities and how the work can be extended. And you have done this particular point. Now that work is there are so many horizons, so many directions in which that work can be carried out. Okay, so you need to specify those, okay, properly. Next is new questions that emerged or improvements that could be made in future research design or methodologies. So what are the improvements that can be done that you are going to explore, and methodologies that can be changed, research design that can be improved. Okay, so all these things you need to show it to the reader. Okay, what is the scope of extended work, how it can be extended, all these things, discussion of one page you may write. Okay, in conclusion and future scope, total in all can be of one page or 1.5 page. Okay, so that you are discussing everything what you have received outcome as, and then how it can be extended, in what manner it can be extended, that you are going to give the scope. As an author of the research, and if you are doing the work, you are very well aware of what are the directions in which the research can be further extended. Okay, so that is very much essential. Now this is future scope. Now the references part. References, as I've told you, references should match with the content of article. Article, I mean to say the literature we are talking about, literature survey what we have done. Okay, so literature survey, if you are writing in generally how the citations can be done. Citations can be done by giving the author's name, or at the same time it can be done by using a square bracket and whatever the number you are writing down. Generally, the reference citation in literature section should be done in ascending manner. Okay, I mean, if you're writing one, okay, in square bracket, that will be your first paper which is being cited. And generally, whenever you write the references, that is also in chronological order. Like it will be the latest paper first, and then the next papers accordingly. Like 2025, then followed by some papers 2024, and so on. Okay, so this is not mandatory as such, but if you follow this is better. Okay, this is a better practice if you go for it. Okay, so this should match with the content, and never cite the in literature paper like at a time 4-5 papers. Okay, the reason is each and every paper is unique, and you should write precisely what is that paper, why you have referred that paper. Okay, so instead of writing 1 to 4, okay, or simply giving the square brackets and writing down so many number of papers, no need of that. You just cite those papers in literature section separately, individually. Okay, that will make a sense, because it means that you are studying those papers and then you are referring those papers, and then you are coming to some conclusion, some criticism. Okay, and you have finded out some drawbacks in that particular paper. There are minimum 30 references, as I've told you. This is for, I'm telling you, for journals and so forth. It can be more than this always, possibility. But for review papers, it can be 200 to 50 plus. Okay. For review papers, how much should be the references? 250 plus references can be used for the review papers. So this has to be taken into account. It is only for this general value I have written. Next is include the latest references, as we have discussed. Next, include standard publication as references. We have already discussed this. Okay, we are including the standard publication as references. Now, key of the research paper writing. Okay, as you have written the paper, fine, it's ready. Now you don't communicate it directly. Okay, it's ready. Okay, you read the paper once again. Okay, as an author, what's your responsibility? Read the paper. See that what are the lacunas or gaps, okay, when you have written that particular paper, and try to fulfill those. Okay, try to fulfill those so that it will be perfections in terms of maybe in grammar, okay, or in terms of the technology which you are describing there, that may be discontinuous, it's not continuous, and that's why it breaks the reader's interest. And that's the thing which you are going to highlight and see once again and read the paper. Okay, not only you, because you as an author may not find, okay, you find it, okay, I have written it, I know that this is perfect. Okay, but now if you give that particular paper to another person who's expert in that area, okay, his suggestions will be very useful in order to improvise your paper. Suggestions of the next review, next expert person will be useful. Before communicating that particular paper, you should show your paper to one or two persons who are expert in that particular area. They will go through it and they will suggest those suggestions, and then you try to incorporate those suggestions. Okay, and I would say many a times what everyone nowadays the practice is using AI tools, rephrasing the terms, rephrasing the things, copy pasting. No, I would suggest that you have to do the research paper writing rigorously and see that you are not going to rephrase the things, because it is going to change many a times the meaning of that paper, and there is no human touch also. Okay, and it is definitely caught by the reader, a reviewer, that okay, this paper has been written by using some AI techniques. Okay, so it's always if possible, okay, English if not good, it's nothing like you write and then it will be improved. Okay, writing skills can be improved by habit. Okay, you start writing down and then by improvising you will find that version 1, 2, 3. Okay, there may be n number of versions of your paper, but again, that will satisfy you. That my paper I have written and that is now perfect. It will go for the particular next person. As I've written over here, there should be a proper flow so that the reader's interest within the paper remains throughout the paper. As I've told you, abstract is very important, okay, which you are writing in at the very first part of your paper. And there you are going to tell in brief your introduction, your method, your results, your discussion, everything will be included, need of that particular title. Okay, so all these things will be included in your abstract. So this abstract, if you are writing and then that abstract, what you have written is being explained throughout the paper perfectly, then what you can say that your paper is done. You have done a proper job and your paper as per what you expect is there. Okay, and when you are writing any of the paragraphs, any of the things, you are explaining anything, what is expected that okay, insert the mathematical equation, no need. Okay, if it is really relevant, it is expected, then only you write those things. Okay, otherwise just for okay, it's required and that's why I'm going to insert these things. No, it is not that way. What you have to do is you see that what is the requirement of that, and then only like suppose many of you are doing hardware things, so in that case sensors and all these things, you need not only have to explain the sensors, you need to tell what sensor in what conditions, how it works, how the sensor testing is being done, and all these things. So that will make the reader, okay, they will think that okay, this person has really done that particular thing. He has not simply brought it and then connected. Okay, it should not be the case. You should have tested and then it can be used for that work. Okay, then as I've told you, support your explanation. Okay, or the research, what is important is to write the mathematical equation. While writing the mathematical equation, many a times you just copy paste those equations. But I would tell you that there are tools available, or you can use the Microsoft equation editor for writing these mathematical equations and write on your own. And then you must give that particular equation number in parenthesis. Equation number 1, equation number 2, and so on. And whenever you are using any variables in those equations, that should be explained. Okay. Equations are important, of course, but at the same time, why that equation is for that, what particular purpose, for filtering purpose, for whatever pre-processing purpose you have used that particular thing. Okay, you have to explain in detail, and that particular variables, those functions, mathematical functions, for what it meant for, you need to write in text form next to the equation. Okay, then it will be useful. Otherwise, you are using some variables XYZ and you are not specifying anywhere. So it is meaningless. Okay, expected that you are going to tell or write down each and every variable along with its meaning and why it has been supported, how it has been supported in your book. Like the classifiers example, KNN and all. KNN, it's like if you go to the Python and all, you will find that simply there is a single command and it will carry out the experimentation. But if you're not aware of what is happening behind the scenes, okay, what is happening inside that particular library, what exactly are the mathematics, how it is being the images, whatever the database you had given, trained and then tested and all these things, that time then your confidence will be loose, because it's not only communicating, you have to present many a times, give the talks. Okay, so I would suggest that your paper not only should be given to the expert, it should be given to the non-expert in your particular area also. That non-expert will definitely tell you, okay, this is not in proper sequence maybe. Okay, because he was like, I don't know about this area, but I will read it and I'll get to know what exactly it is, because he is from the technical background, I would suggest. So even if he is from technical background and not from your area, but he will definitely suggest you whether there is a flow, proper flow in your paper or not. Okay, so that is very much essential, so that your paper is ready. Okay, perfectly ready, I would say. Grammatical errors should be removed. Okay, and always use a third person language. As you know, in paper, never we have seen like, I have done this, I completed this, nothing like that. In this work, in this paper, all these things are there. So always use a third person's language. That's very important whenever you write a paper. Discuss the outcomes, results in detail. Okay. So yeah, for this, you should not do anything like, I'll not discuss these things, I should keep it hidden. Okay. So as I'm telling you, this particular work will be available to the next researchers, and that's why you should discuss in detail. Okay, so that it should be replicable, nothing should be hidden, and nothing should be uh, it should be properly put over there so that it can be replicated. Next is, assume reader is familiar with the advanced knowledge in the field. Okay. So whenever it goes to the reviewers, what is your assumption should be that this is going to a person who's knowing advanced things. So whatever the things I'll write are precise, accurate in terms of everything, whatever the parameters. Okay. So all these parameters you must consider so that your research paper is fully perfect. Okay. Next is the guidelines for writing the paper. Okay. So once the paper is ready, okay, expected that you are going to check the plagiarism of the paper, okay, before communicating. And plagiarism, as you know, the standard plagiarism softwares are there. Few like Authenticate, the journals are using. Few journals are using Turnitin. These are well-known. Urkund is also there. So you have the different plagiarism software, which will tell you from which source exactly that particular uh, paper or whatever the statements you are taking. Okay. So don't, as I've told you, till the time it's not the process started from you. Okay. It's like you are going to take from one another paper and then copy pasting. No need of that. If you do copy paste, it will fall in plagiarism. Okay. So try to avoid this plagiarism. Plagiarism of the paper should be less than 15%, 10%, I would say. Less than 10% it should be the plagiarism of your paper, so that you can say that that particular paper is good quality paper. Okay. Well-written paper contribute more than just their described results. Okay. So badly written papers are not acceptable, as you know. Even if you have done the work and you are not in a position to convert that particular work into a research paper, okay, properly, then it is like you are not visible to the scientific community. Okay. So in order to make your paper and you as author to visible to the scientific community, it's very much essential that your paper should be well written, and it should highlight the contribution. Okay. And that is in a perfect manner. There should be a continuity right from abstract, introduction, methodology, result, everywhere discussion, and then the conclusion part. Okay. You may have the another section also, that is acknowledgement. Many a times, like database you are taking from some firms or some hospitals, you should acknowledge that you are using some labs, okay, for your work. So those labs you are making use of, so you should acknowledge that. You see these particular sections are available in the acknowledgement, and you should acknowledge that those persons, those labs, and all these things. Okay. It's very important to have good visual representation. Okay. Formatting, diagrams, and flowcharts. Good visual representation will make the possibilities of your paper that is perfect, that is rather acceptance. And if you are following those guidelines, which are like template guidelines, you can say the formatting guidelines, if you are following those and your diagrams are perfect, the things are in line, then it's like very, very less chances of rejection of that paper. Okay. So visual representations should be perfect. It means that it should be like, as I've told you, for what purpose, which charts are to be used. That knowledge you must have. Okay. And then you should go for these presentations, the diagrams and all. Okay. You should not use anything for anywhere. Suppose it's conditional, then you should use a diamond shape for flowchart. Okay. If it is normal, then you can go for this rectangular shape and all this. So that particular knowledge you must have. Okay. Then and the resolution of the images should be good, in order that it should be good visual representation. There should be connectivity between each paragraph, so that the reader's interest can be kept. Next, proofread your paper carefully. Okay. Once again, you read it and see that the consistency is maintained. Get your paper read by others, expert and non-expert, as we have discussed. Summary. Next is the summary. Writing skills are developed by habit. Okay. Don't wait for the perfect time for writing a research paper. Okay. So as I've told you, once the literature survey is done, what you can start with, you can simply start with the literature survey, and don't go for a IEEE type, this type. Okay, simply take a Word file. Okay, and then you start writing down the things. Okay, and then finally your draft is ready. And as and when you are doing the work, as and when add those things in your draft, and you will find that that particular draft is ready. Now whatever journal you will go for, whatever conferences you will go for, you are going to follow those guidelines and make that particular thing. Okay, so always do not wait for okay, I will work, I'll get the result, and then only I'll start writing the paper. It will be too late to get it accepted. Okay, be ethical, very important. Okay, very, very important is be ethical, whatever is your work is. Next is writing high quality research paper enhances your visibility within the scientific community. As I'm telling you, you just go for the Scopus, SCL listed and all these things. So that will be the benchmarks in the your research journey, and that will make perfectly all these things. Now, as this is like end of the session now, there is no perfect time to write. Anytime you can start. Thank you so much for listening to me. And in between, whatever that particular network issue has happened, sorry for that. Yes, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Participant,
Yes,
any
we can
question,
go to
please? Any question?
Yes, ma'am. I have one question. May I?
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
Ma'am, I am a scholar of English literature.
Okay.
So, in English literature, this type of format is not generally we are using. So,
Okay.
because it's a subjective paper actually, we don't need any kind of scientific data. Quantitative papers we people generally do not write.
Okay.
Literature point of view. So, in that case also, do we have to follow the same structure?
Uh, See here, whatever the structure we have discussed, okay,
Hmm. Yes.
can be it's useful for everywhere. I could say, because in literature also you have some problem, or you have some qualitative research, isn't it?
Yeah,
Hello.
yes, ma'am, you are right. But for I'm talking about my point of view, like we people are generally writing qualitative papers. So
Yeah.
we do not follow any kind of statistics or any graphics or any
Mm.
data collection. It is just depend on the papers, literature review only. This is the only data collection.
Okay. So
And
in that case, yes, yes, yes. Go
And
ahead.
we are mainly following the methodology of like descriptive, qualitative, and based on books, references, and research papers. Only this is a data collection.
Okay. So any paper, the thing is, you must come to some conclusion, right? Your
Yes,
paper has some title, and then you have to devise that particular thing and see that whether that outcome has achieved. Okay.
yes,
So you
yes,
may not be writing down in terms of the numerical values, in terms of the equations, of course.
yes.
But that qualitative thing in literature, it's very important that your flow is to be maintained
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. And once that flow is there, from that literature, what exactly is your observations, of course that has been covered here, those observations to be cited, and then from that observation, what are your conclusions, what are your findings, key findings to be discussed. Okay, so
Oh,
that
yes,
will be applicable. The rest part, whatever database collection, writing down in detail what data, from where you have taken, and all these things, you don't have to go in that much depth. But the quality of your grammar, okay, and
yes, sir.
perfectness of writing is very
Mm.
important there. And finally, the outcome of the paper has to be discussed properly.
Okay, ma'am. And one more question, ma'am. I have written one research paper. So, can I make this research paper as a patent?
Patent, there is a possibility that a research paper can be converted as a copyright, most probably. But patent, you need to check for, like, how is the contribution. Okay, depending on that, whether it is patentable or not, you will come to know. For that, what you can do is, I'll suggest you go to the ipindia.com,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, website, and there you search for similar literature related patents, right?
Okay.
And once you find those related research, literature related papers, your English literature, and then you can see that whether it is patentable and what factors it is patentable, and that will give you another particular horizon also, like what exactly can be improved, or what exactly are the directions, so that your work, what you have done, can be converted into the patent. Okay,
Okay,
patenting
okay.
is a benchmark because it's your own work. It's good.
Yes, ma'am.
ipindia.com you should go for.
Okay,
Yes.
ma'am. Thank you so much.
Anyone? Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask one question. I am a very fresh research scholar. I've just started my initial studies. So I wanted to take a suggestion from you, from your point of view, ma'am. Uh, what would you like to suggest us as a fresh researcher to write a fresh research paper or to write a review paper first?
See, for review papers, there are two possibilities. Review papers can be written at the end of your research work. Okay. And then that review paper, I would say, is the best paper which you have devised. Okay. Because that time you are aware of what results you are getting, what are the methods for comparisons, how it can be done, on what parameters you have done the comparisons. Okay, so that is one aspect, but you can write the review paper at the initial stage also, right? That is also there. That is initial stage means your problem formulation is done. Okay, you're doing the literature survey, and from literature survey, as I have told you, you are going to find the limitations of that particular paper, drawbacks. Okay, any if any. And from that, you will come to know, okay, in these years, as I've told you, there are 250 papers you are going to refer. Of course, it will be not only from only 5 years. Okay, it will be last 25 years you are referring to, right? And then you can see that, criticize that particular author and see the gaps, motivation, all these things you have to highlight. Okay, in that review paper, what is expected, you are reviewing, you are going to observe what are the limitations, methods, and all these things. Method comparison, there are various tables can be drawn over there. Okay, in terms of comparisons of the methods used, in terms of the findings of that particular outcomes, and in terms of the every decade how the technology has been changed, that ways also. Okay, and number of times, n number of types. So it's okay if you're writing down the if you are a refresher and you are writing a review paper right now, so that will make your literature survey good, and that is, as I've told you, basis of your research work.
Thank you, ma'am.
I hope I have answered your query.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Yes.
My question is like, can we no, publish a literature review paper in Q1 journals?
Yes,
Means
ma'am.
what is the yes?
Literature review in Q1, you mean?
Hmm.
Actually, possibility is very less. Review papers, then it should be like you have how papers you have referred, tell me. Like the papers you should refer to is IEEE transaction papers and all, and see that those how those are written. Okay, today because of less time, I could not show you those papers. I have downloaded, and those are the best papers I could suggest. They can be of that quality. Okay, and you can go to that particular area. Okay, in which you are writing down the paper, communicate that paper, and wait for that results. Okay, reviewers are going to tell you, okay, this much is the lacuna, but mostly these papers are not considered review papers. Okay, because otherwise your review will be very rigorous in that case, in order to go for Q1. Otherwise Q3 Q4 you can try for. Reviewers comment you need to address and see that okay, anyways, even if you are passing that paper and if the editor's interest is there, okay, then he will give you the comments, and those comments will help you in improving your papers. Okay, so try that, no problem, but it will take time. As you know that Scopus Q1 Q1 journals are having 6 months or more than 6 months for giving the outcomes. Okay.
Say that so many journals are
Any
having
other query?
much more charges. Why much more charges are there for such type of journals? Though we are going to publish our true work, experimental work.
Yeah.
Why it is so? That is my main question.
I would say that not all the papers are. Have you gone through? No, it's nothing like that. All the papers are not charging you. Okay, there are free journals which are in Q1 and Q2. Okay, those free journals you have not find it out. You go to SJR, like Scopus Journal Finder, and then you will find that there are listings in Q1 and Q2. They will tell you all details about the journal. And then when you click on that particular journal, you go to the journal website. Okay. And on that journal website, you will very well come to know that there are so many journals which are free journals. Okay. So those are not asking you for any of the charges. Okay. So no charges will be applicable in that case. So I think you can go for those journals which are not, of course, you need to refer to the websites, and then you will come to know from one or two
Hello,
whether there are
madam.
any article processing charges or not. APC. Yes.
Madam, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello,
Yes, sir. You are
madam.
Yes, audible.
I
audible.
want to add one more thing that, with your permission, may I? Hello.
Yes, sir. No problem. Yeah. Yes, sir. Hello.
One participant asked. One participant asked related to that English literature's papers cannot be make some quantitative analysis. So that question was there, and what is the format
Yes,
of that
sir.
particular paper? So as a part of the AI in the research, so I can add there, I can suggest that participant that you can add the artificial intelligence in terms of LSTM technology. So we can add their LSTM technology of the AI in your English literature part, and you can make the quantitative analysis of your result also. That can be added.
Yes.
I think that participant might be there. So LSTM
It's okay.
can be added there.
Yes, sir. These
So that
algorithms
will
are
be
there.
that will be improvement in their papers, and their papers can be make the quantitative analysis base.
Sir, what I would suggest to that particular person is, if he has a ML background, machine learning
It is required. It is required.
background,
ML
he
background
will
is
be
required there.
definitely LSTM. He can implement LSTM in that case.
Yes,
If
yes,
he
yes,
is not
definitely.
having that background, it's really difficult for literature persons to go for LSTM and all.
So they
because all are
can make the
mathematical
joint, they
based.
can make the some joint research, and the joint research, collaborative
Yes,
research is required. So that will be helpful for them as a part of collaborative research.
That is there, sir. You can say that the collaborative research nowadays, even authors, I forgot to tell, like authors, if they are from different institutes, okay, the journals are looking for that. If you are like
Different,
writing a particular paper
different
and
institute as well as the different faculties.
yes, sir.
Faculties from the
Faculty from the
liberal arts can
different
be joined with the
branches,
faculties
right?
of the science and technology also. That can
Different
be possible.
disciplines, faculty, if it is there, it's good. And that collaboration has to be there, and that's what NEP says now.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
And
Thank you for
that will be
giving me
useful.
chance to talk
Yes.
with you.
Yes, sir. No problem. I hope, yes, anyone's query.
Madam,
Yes.
I have one common simple question.
Yes, sir.
There are some like good journals like SCIS, Focus and all, but
Yes.
sometimes some few of the journals are paid journals. So should we go for that or not?
I would suggest to go for free journals.
Yeah, that is
Because
good.
those are peer reviewed and quality journals. Free journals are those who are peer reviewed. Okay, it will take time, but definitely you will be the best in your field. Okay, like suppose you are the communication expert and you are communicating to a particular journal, and it will take time, for example, 6 months, and you will get some reviewer comment, and you are rectifying those things, again communicating, and then finally you will get the acceptance. Okay, So in that journey, they will make you perfect. Okay, what are your lacunas that will be addressed, and even you will come to know, okay, this is what my limitations were there. I have improved on that.
Yes.
And that's why I will suggest don't go for the paid journals anytime. That will be accepted within short duration, but that will not benefit in your research. Entire life, you will feel like I have left something. Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
don't do that. I would say I would suggest go for the free journals. And that's why your research writing should start very early stage. It should not start, okay, I've done the work and then only I'll start. It will be too late. Okay. So you should, as I'm telling you, you make a draft and start writing down, and then it will be a paper. Definitely. Okay. So that is better. And initially, for getting a confidence, I may say to the very fresher, okay, you can go for the conference, international conference, which is Scopus listed. If your work is preliminary, objective one, if you are satisfied, okay, then you can go for the international conference, and then there you discuss that particular paper, present that paper, that will boost your confidence. Okay. And that what will happen is if that boosting of the confidence will make you motivated, your motivation will be increased, and that will lead to best paper, journals papers at the end of your research. Because many a times conferences are really good. NITs, IITs, they are organizing these conferences. I'll suggest those conferences only which are organized by NITs and IITs.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, anyone else? I think no questions. So I may stop here. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Okay, I think there is no more questions. So thank you, participant, for listening very patiently. Now it's a time to vote of thanks. It's my privilege to deliver a vote of thanks to today's expert speaker, Dr. Swati Bhisikar ma'am, for sharing a valuable knowledge on a research paper writing. Today's session knowledge empower us in our research and professional growth, sharing an insightful perspective that have enhanced our research writing skill. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing a insightful knowledge with us. With your permission, I conclude the session is over, and I would like to take a moment to thank all the participants for their active involvement and thoughtful contribution. I request all the participants to stay in the same meeting for the next session.